Well, I mean, as I mentioned before, Jannik is a kind of a player that loves to play in very fast-paced.
Me having played all of the top players in the world in my career.
Sinner, what's one weakness? He doesn't have many, mate. He doesn't.
I think if we talk only about tennis, Sinner. The way he hits the ball, his timing.
I never played, honestly, someone who put me on this.
He's very similar to Novak when he was at his best.
There's a lot of things, it's two very different players and challenges, and
look, I think he's still the best player in the world. I do believe that.
And today I changed my opinion. I never played someone who played like Jannik today. I mean, I couldn't. If it was not an ace, the ball was coming.
There is a fear that lives on the professional tennis tour today, and it does not wear a name tag. It shows up the moment a player walks onto the court and sees the schedule, sees who is standing on the other side of the net, and feels something tighten in their chest before a single ball has been struck. That fear has a name. Everyone on tour knows it. His name is Jannik Sinner. To understand what makes him so terrifying, you have to listen to the men who have stood across from him, the men who have given everything they have and walked away broken, confused, searching for answers that do not exist. One rival, sitting quietly after a crushing loss, admitted something remarkable. He said he had never faced anyone who forced him into such a relentless, rushed rhythm during a rally. There was no room to breathe, no room to think. Every single point felt like being swept into a current he could not fight against. Another opponent described it differently, but the terror was the same. He talked about a player who commits to one speed and one speed only from the very first point to the very last, blistering. A player who never seems to lose his balance, who always times the ball perfectly, no matter the surface, no matter the stage, no matter the pressure. Play him on clay, play him on grass, play him under the lights on hard court, and you get the exact same nightmare. Relentless pace, zero mercy. And then come the comparisons, the ones that should make every fan sit up and take notice. Because when you ask the players who have shared the court with legends, who have battled Roger, who have battled Rafa, who have battled Novak in their absolute primes, and then ask them where this new threat stands, the answers get chilling. One player, who never got the chance to face the big three at the very peak of their powers, admitted that when he plays Sinner at his best, it might be the closest thing to facing perfection that this era of tennis has to offer. He said flatly that he does not see this player getting worse, only better, and that thought alone should terrify every single name left on the draw sheet. Someone else went even further, comparing his game directly to Novak Djokovic in his most dominant seasons. The same suffocating consistency, the same refusal to make mistakes, the same brutal geometry, pinning opponents to the baseline, giving them no time, no space, no oxygen. Facing that kind of precision, according to one veteran, forces you to overhit just to manufacture any opportunity at all, and overhitting against a wall like that is exactly how matches slip away. Then there is the way he strikes the ball itself, a detail that keeps coming up again and again, almost like a shared trauma among the players forced to return it. They describe a swing that never seems to require any real effort, a ball that cuts through its trajectory as if guided by something unnatural, fast, clean, and somehow calm, like there is no urgency in his motion even as the ball explodes off his strings. One rival called it a joke, not because it was funny, but because it did not feel fair. But perhaps the most unsettling account came from a player who walked off the court that day utterly stunned. He said he had never experienced an opponent who played the way Sinner played that afternoon. Every ball he sent back seemed to return before he even had time to celebrate a clean winner. He admitted to missing shots he would normally make with ease, not because his own game had collapsed, but because the sheer weight of relentless perfection on the other side of the net had started to eat at his confidence, point by point, until doubt crept in and panic followed close behind. He said his body felt good. His footwork felt good. His shots, by his own admission, were not even that far off. And still, he lost. Easily. A result he could barely remember happening to him before. Now picture the players who have to prepare for this. Picture stepping onto a hard court knowing exactly what history says is coming. They talk about an aura, something built not from a single flashy run, but from a brutal, sustained pattern of dismantling everyone put in front of him over the better part of 2 years. They remember watching him take on one of the greatest players ever to compete on that very surface, and somehow making it look almost effortless, conceding barely anything, dominating a legend at what many considered his own fortress. And the players who have to walk out and face that same version of him describe an eerie inevitability. You go in believing you will fight. You believe there will be a battle. And then, suddenly, 90 minutes have passed, and you are the one chasing the scoreboard, searching desperately for any way back onto the board at all. So naturally, the question everyone wants answered becomes this. Does this man have a weakness? Surely, somewhere, there must be a crack. When one opponent was pressed for an answer after a demoralizing loss, he paused, searching, clearly wanting to find something, anything, that could offer hope to the rest of the tour. And in the end, all he could manage, half joking, half genuinely stumped, was this: maybe he is too nice. That is it. That is the great flaw in the armor of the most feared player in men's tennis right now. Not a shaky backhand. Not a fragile serve under pressure. Not a mental lapse in big moments. Just kindness. A trait no opponent can exploit. And when you step back and listen to every single voice, from rising contenders to seasoned former champions, from men who have shared locker rooms with legends, a single, unavoidable consensus begins to emerge. They talk about ball speed unlike anything they have witnessed before. They talk about a serve that has become nearly impossible to read. They talk about physical conditioning that refuses to fade, no matter how long or how brutal the match becomes. And more than one of them, without hesitation, arrives at the same conclusion. Right now, in this moment, he is the best player in the world. Not maybe, not probably, simply, undeniably, the best. And every single man left on tour knows it, because they have felt it themselves, standing helplessly on the other side of the net, watching the impossible happen, point after point after point.